You're listening to Suburban Sex with Addie and Remy. I was chatting with a mom of another, one of the kids' friends, and our oldest has started making a moaning sound, and he has said he'll do this impression, uh, uh.
Oh my.
Yes, and he'll joke and say that's what a woman sounds like moaning, and I am just shocked, like, holy shit, did he hear
Wow.
that from me? And he did not, but he of course saw it on some stupid YouTube whatever when he was with a friend, because he does not watch that with us. But not to get into parenting aspects here,
Right.
but what was so interesting to me, I'm telling this story with a fellow mom who has the same aged kid, and my reaction as I was about to say, "I hope he didn't hear that from me," in the exact same time she said, "Well, I know mine would have never heard that from me." And blew my mind.
Mm.
Absolutely blew my mind. And then she followed it up with, "I've got 3 kids. There's no way that's happening, blah, blah, blah." And I just so badly wanted to say, "Okay, so I've got a podcast." So let's talk about sex for a minute.
So if any of our
Um,
listeners have a friend like that, recommend the podcast. We
I
will
know.
normalize
I
making those
know.
sounds.
Until she hears this. But all that to say, I mean, that's just another reminder of how, I mean, obviously every married couple is going to be a little bit different and be in a different season of life, a different phase. And we'll continue to get into that throughout each of our segments and whatnot, but married sex just doesn't have to be boring, and it doesn't have to be it should be something that we do. It should be something that is part of our relationship and part of our future together, and the way we are intimate with each other. I feel so much more connected to Brad every time. Every time. And I would want that for everyone.
I think that the definition of sex seems to have, or how we define intimacy has changed a lot over the years. I mean, when we first got married, we first got together, porn was something you had to go and really look hard for. I mean, you had to go to LimeWire and, try to download something. It was a mess and you never really got
Right.
anything good. Now it's just everywhere. And that's kind of, unfortunately, most of our sex education is watching this porn version of sex, which is so
Mhm.
different than what it's actually like with a person, and pursuing and being rejected and knowing their nuances. And it's a very different thing. So,
It
I don't know,
is.
marriage is challenging now because we're competing with that version.
Well, that's a good point, because the porn sex versus real sex. Obviously, as a woman, I know how very different that is, but I truly wonder, and I've had this conversation with Brad before, does he know the difference between the two? I think you as men, not all men, but the two of you that I'm looking at as I'm saying this out loud, I know you have had more porn education than I ever had. We know that I've been a little bit more of a prude back in the day. So I eh, I certainly didn't learn sex from porn. I kind of learned it through doing, I suppose, and maybe some movie sex scenes here and there, but I really did not spend my time watching porn when I was younger. So, but I know that's different for the both of you. But Remy, I'm curious, because I had a complex about this, I think, when I was younger and dating men, Brad included, wondering if they saw a distinction between porn sex versus real sex. But now, as a married woman who's certainly more comfortable and confident in what relationship we have now, I'm certainly more comfortable with that, and how he sees it, but I was worried about it back in the day.
I always go back to the same illustration I think I've mentioned before. Learning sex from porn is like learning to drive by watching Fast and Furious movies. It's a little bit different. And, I do wonder just, if someone is habitualized porn use, it's just such instant gratification where, I haven't been on a dating app or dated in a long time, but it's not easy, and there's
Mhm.
rejection. You have to put yourself out there and you have to build trust and you have to develop rapport and there's consent and there's a whole lot more to actual sex with an actual person than turning something
Right.
on and getting your needs met and going to sleep. That's not what this is.
Right.
So, the expectations should be different and I hope people realize that's not reality.
Well, yeah, no one's showing up at my doorstep with a box of pizza and no shirt. That's certainly not happening for me.
All right.
Brad,
Like I
It's
have to
on.
jump. I have to jump in here.
Bring it, hot tub.
I don't feel like porn really ever affected my actual physical relationships. Like I don't think maybe I like to think I'm a normal person, normal thoughts and desires and whatever,
that
and I
checks
don't
out.
and I don't feel like when I hooked up with a female lady or 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 a female.
I'm sorry.
Did I
Keep
did I say
going.
female lady?
Yeah, you sure did. But
Yeah.
you said or a female. What else you got?
Male lady.
You
I don't
keep
know.
going. You keep digging that hole. What
Lady
you
man,
got?
lady.
Jeez.
No. I've not hooked up with a lady man lady. But anyway, um
Lady man lady.
no,
If there's
I don't
anything
think
wrong
it
with that.
I feel like it didn't really I have no recollection of any hookup where I was expecting porn style sex and I was and she was expecting porn style sex and porn style like to me porn is just um fantasized body parts. It's not like I'm thinking, oh, this is what how I'm going to perform. It's looking at these body parts and saying, oh wow, that's huge, and I that'd be I mean, good for him, and must be nice. But aside from that, I don't think I'm like, I mean, I'm sure there's scenes where you're like, oh, I wish she did that, right? I wish my lady would be into that.
He looks me dead in the eye while he says that.
I mean, I hope we're not villainizing porn. That's certainly not what we're attempting to say, but it has impacted society where, I don't think before porn was mainstream, everybody was just shaving everything, but now it's kind
Sure,
of the norm.
yeah,
So it's
and
it's making impacts one way or the other.
I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there who it really takes over their lives.
Right.
Mhm.
Like I remember when I was single, um, I I I could spend hours and just in front of the computer,
Not
and
surprising.
So condescending, Addie.
but maybe I'm the outlier. But when it came down to real life interactions, that stuff never really entered my brain.
Yeah.
I was focused on
Fair.
her and there and I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm the same way, but then again, we developed our relationships pre porn being so accessible. Now I think a lot of the younger generation, it's just so easy. why make the effort to go out and date? And
Right.
hopefully that's not the norm. Hopefully that's just an exception that people talk about, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, Brad and I met a little bit later in life, so I know he had plenty of time in porn without me. But
But
I
for it's a
I
cheap substitute. It's not real. I mean, we
I know
know
it's
that.
not real. Exactly. It's not real. And like I said, when I was younger and we were dating and we didn't have the intimacy level and connection that we have today, sure, I had times where I thought, well, maybe he wants me to have bigger boobs, or maybe I'm not keeping up enough with all of the positions that he wants me to do or what have you. But now I obviously see that that's not the case. And I think if most women knew that mental distinction that you 2 are kind of talking through here, where it's just kind of this pretend fantasy world. I mean, just like we watch women will look at the Oscars or watch movies, rom-coms and whatnot. Obviously, my life is not a movie. My life is not a rom-com. So it's kind of a distinction of real versus fake, real versus the glammed up version of it.
I mean, I think through porn, you can kind of experience a fantasy that you may have or try on a fantasy that's outside of your norm. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I mean, I think we just all want somebody who's really into us or really wants us. And that's kind of what you see in porn. Like they're just so in the moment and
Yeah.
into that person. And that's what we really want from our partners anyway.
So
So
true.
I generally go to it after being rejected. You know, it's
Yeah,
not like
okay.
I would prefer the porn. I mean, it's we know it's not as good. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I just gotta take care of things. It's not what I really want, you know.
Remy, that's so true though. I absolutely see that. Of course you're gonna go to it after you've been rejected. That absolutely makes sense. And not to say what's right or wrong at this point. There's nothing that's I think every couple has to figure out what works for them and what have you, but I see nothing wrong with that. I see someone who wants to feel wanted, and if it's not coming, so between me and Brad, if it's not coming from me, go for it. I don't care what you look at. I want you to take care of you, and I don't want to take care of you at this very moment. There are times
It's
where
true.
that has to be the reality. I can't be your sex bot. But I can't. I can't be the sex bot every time you want me to. I'm going to do my best, but I'm going to do my best because it's going to be something that I will enjoy too. I'm not just doing it for you. I'm doing it because I want it as well, and I'm going to get something good out of it. Hell no.
So at
Hell
one
no.
point, I was
Hell
trying
no.
to
Hell no.
minimize my porn use. So I would try other types of sites that are less visual. So
Okay.
I found Literotica. So it's all like
Ooh.
stories that are erotic in nature. So then I'd find ones that I could picture Reagan
Mhm.
in. So then I was almost creating my own visual porn through it. But it's
So
interesting because as I got into it, the more I realized it's kind of changing, opening my mind to other fantasies that I probably didn't have before.
Oh,
So,
okay, I'd love some recommendations because and I've mentioned this to both of you gentlemen before. Porn is not my thing. It's not my thing. I don't get how seeing a penis going in and out, in and out, in and out does anything for anybody. It certainly does not do it for me. And it's that straight shot, it's
mhm.
there's 0 foreplay, and I don't even need foreplay in every moment of my life, but, I need it every once in a while. I need a little bit of connection, and I've never seen true connection in porn. So I am I am very interested in what that literotica sounds like, but if it's going to kind of be the written version of a porn, then I'm out, but if it maybe has a little bit more sensualness to it or teasing, then we're gonna need to get
So
some
What it is,
recommendations?
there's different versions of porn. For instance, I mean, there is what they call ethical porn. That's not necessarily what you just described. It's
Okay.
more actual couples. They also have women produced porn, which is more of what you're looking for. But in this case, literotica is something that, you or I or Hot Tub Brad or any of our listeners could write your own story and submit it. There's different
Ooh.
categories. There's girl on girl. There's a wife section. There's all kinds of different sections.
Why are you calling me out?
I'm just saying, you could be a creative writer and we don't even know
Why
it.
are you assuming that I have a page of many stories on
Oh
Literotica?
my gosh. I would
I
love to
would
read them.
love if you have a screen name on there.
I absolutely do not have that, as far as you know.
Oh my god. I would love to read that. That would be amazing.
I think I have a
It would
screen name on there.
Oh
Something
my
hubby because it was all
gosh.
like, into wives sort of thing. So I was trying to keep it focused, but
I
no, I'm
love
Nice.
so
it.
so prude,
All right,
so
Oh my
vanilla.
gosh, that's great.
I'm gonna
That's
pull
great.
this up right now,
No
and
shit. But I haven't written any stories.
I
So no stories for me, but
like
maybe one
the
of these
idea of
days.
writing stories. That sounds
Yeah,
fun. I feel
get your
like I could
creativity
that'd be
going.
fun to do. It'd be fun to try something out.
I
Um,
I think we have a special guest who might want to read one of your stories.
Oh, I don't have a story, but I would love to have a special guest.
Let's see if she picks up.
Hello? Hello? Who's this? Is this Remy?
Reagan, is that
Remy?
Reagan?
Remy, thank you for calling. I've been so wanting to hear from you. Oh my gosh. I'm so horny right now, as usual.
I think you need to go
Reagan.
read a story. You know where to find him. Go find me
I
a good
would.
story. We'll
It's
go over it later.
it's funny you call Remy because I was just reading my favorite literotica story that you wrote about
Mhm.
me,
I wrote a
and
lot about you under different
I'm
names.
can I tell everyone what happens in the story? It's so fun.
Yes, I
It's so
would love to
fun.
hear it, Reagan.
Oh my god. Sorry, I just had an orgasm. Okay, so what happened in the story was Remy took me oh god, now I'm getting my stories confused because there were so many sex positions in this one. Go
What was your
ahead.
favorite one, Reagan?
I'm not going to embarrass you, Remy, but I will
I'm not
say
embarrassed.
that I've had 3 orgasms since I picked up this phone call.
That is certainly the fantasy Reagan we all know.
Is the Hitachi on you as we speak, Reagan? You can tell us.
Is that what the buzzing noise is?
Yeah, she's
Do
got
you
the
hear it? Do
Hitachi
you
on
hear
as
it?
she's calling.
That's absolutely what's happening to my
Yes,
privates right now.
Oh
wonderful.
my gosh.
You just
Fantasy
keep
Reagan,
them.
we love you.
All right,
I'm
guys,
so
I'm
good.
gonna go have some more orgasms. I love you so much. Call me again. Bye bye.
Bye. Oh my god.
All right. Oh,
Oh,
good
fantasy
times.
Reagan.
Yeah, man. I mean, she's a
Yeah.
handful. You know how it is. I mean, it's
She's
tough to
a
keep happy.
handful.
Mouthful,
Obviously, it's easy to
handful.
keep her happy. Man.
No, man. When you have that kind of sex drive, it's just hard to keep
Mhm.
up.
Constant. Mhm.
So, as another alternative to your standard porn, there's also, as we talked about literotica, everyone's heard of OnlyFans, which, a
Mhm.
lot of people during the pandemic really got into. There's also
Yep.
Chatterbait. You guys could start your own little channel. And
What's Chatterbait?
Hot Tub Brad, you want to
Oh
enlighten
boy.
her?
Oh, so we're just assuming that he knows Chatterbait and has done his
Why are
research.
you assuming
Sure.
that I know what this is?
Just a guess.
Remi's getting him in trouble. No, I really don't
Mm-mm.
know what it is though.
It's just a um like it's a webcam site, right? And like you can buy credits to watch people's webcams, or you can start your own webcam and try to make money off of it.
That sounds just like OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Well, this is all live, so it's like if you
Oh,
two were on the
live.
camera right now and you had a room full of people watching you guys interact, and you can
Wow.
be as crazy or non-crazy as you want.
Wow.
And there's all types of people, bodies, sizes, and everything in between. So it's just
Wow.
a representation of regular people. I'm sure there's a lot of
Okay.
professionals,
So
but there's
tune
also
in next
regular
week
people.
for the Suburban Sex Chatterbait channel,
Woo!
where we
Hard
get
no.
Wicked.
really
You know what?
personal.
No judgment, because I bet folks make
Absolutely
some
not.
good money off of that.
True.
However, that is not my calling.
Just know about
Um,
during the pandemic, they were saying people were like buying houses with
oh my
OnlyFans money. And I'm thinking, what?
gosh, that's amazing.
Well, I think Remy will agree with me when I say that you could make some money doing that if you chose.
Oh my gross.
She
I
could.
mean, I think
She
the girl
could.
next door style, the regular wife, is way more appealing than
Mm.
the professional, at least in my opinion.
Oh my gosh. That doesn't mean I'm going to start my own whatever it's
Doesn't
called.
mean we're not saying you should, we're just saying you could.
So I started a podcast and then I realized the real
Oh, man.
money is
It's a
in having
slippery
sex.
slope.
Slippery slope.
That's right.
Ah.
All right, guys, I've got a question for you. So we've had a big conversation. We've talked a lot about porn this way and that way. Let's take it from a different angle. Do this, if you guys could take turns answering this, is porn considered cheating? Maybe let's
Ooh.
turn this to Brad first, and then we'll hear
Yes.
the female perspective.
I know Brad's answer, but sure,
I bet
Brad.
I do too.
Brad, is
You
porn
assume
considered
you know my
cheating?
answer. Um,
It's like we know you.
so I get the people who think it's cheating. I totally understand that viewpoint because um, I remember dating a girl years ago that I was very. It wasn't a good relationship. I didn't feel comfortable in it. I didn't feel secure in the relationship. Um, it was one of those where I expected to get dumped at any time,
Because she
and
was too hot for you?
maybe that was it. I don't know. I mean, possibly,
Oh gosh.
but
Wait, so is that how you feel about me all the time too?
yes, absolutely.
Good answer. Quick too. Well done.
But like, if she was watching porn with these huge guys, and thinking it was so hot and getting off to it, I would totally be self conscious and worried and uh, worried that she's gonna, that I'm not enough. So I get the
Mm.
feeling that some people may have about the porn thing. However, being a man and understanding how the male brain works, um, I don't feel like it's the same thing as cheating on a person because it's like, wish I had a good comparison. I mean, it's like this thing that runs through your brain for a few seconds and then it's forgotten. You know, it's like, at least for me, it doesn't come back into my thoughts during normal life, during time with you with sex. It's just like um, God, help me out here, Remy.
Cheap substitute. I mean, it's just as what we
Yeah.
talked about earlier in the segment. I mean, to me, that's my impression. I mean, it's not the real thing. There's no emotional attachment. I don't guess emotional attachment's required for it to be cheating, but
Right.
to me, I don't even equate it as anything to even compare
Okay. And
personally.
when you're watching it, you watch it, you enjoy it, and you're done.
Yeah.
So Brad, you're saying it's more temporary. It's not something that just lingers.
Correct.
Okay. Interesting.
So, what does the female brain say?
Well, I think there are many different versions of the female brain. So let's say that I personally do not see it as cheating. So I will put that out there. But it to Brad's point, I also see how it could be considered cheating. Now there are different levels of porn that we've talked about. If there was any sort of interaction with an individual, that is no longer porn to me. That is considered cheating. If you are going to chat with someone, if you are going to send pictures with someone who is real, I mean, all of that is an interaction and it becomes a relationship and it is something that I consider cheating. But watching something on a
What
screen.
if it's an AI bot?
Oh, that stupid Addie bot.
Addie
She's coming
bot.
for me.
See, you've created a monster,
Hello,
an
human
Addie bot.
podcast.
Stop it. Put her
Oh
away.
man, you've created competition,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't like her.
Well, the
I
other
don't like her
question I
one
have
bit.
is, the word porn use is so vague. There's different levels. I mean, is it a habitual thing? Is it an addictive thing? Is it a
Yeah.
problem that's controlling your life and that's literally like this person? One partner would rather spend their afternoon in front of the TV than with their partner. Very
Mhm.
different than I get rejected and go and find some porn and not really happy about it, but it's the only
So
solution.
true. Yeah. And I don't know if that's just real quick. I don't know if that's necessarily like I still don't consider that cheating, but I also think that there is something fundamentally wrong with your relationship. Like you need to figure that out. There is therapy that is a good thing for marriages. It is also sometimes the when you understand that a marriage is not working. Like sometimes that is okay too, to understand that if someone is habitually watching porn because they need it, that's a whole different story and that's a very different relationship altogether. And I don't know if we're necessarily talking to that as a greater population. I think that is a part of the population, but I it, that's not always like I wouldn't always put the blame on the man for the habitual porn. I think that like every relationship is a joint piece. It's a joint relationship, and so there you've got to kind of work things out together there. I don't know.
And if you're habitually watching it on a really regular basis, it's going to ramp up your sex drive. It's going to it's going to
Yes.
change the way you think. So, for the men
Mhm.
out there, if it's becoming more habitual, maybe you need to put a pause on it for a while. I mean, they do have the whole porn, the new drug concept out there where it talks about the dopamine and the chemicals and how it affects your brain. I mean, it's something you could look into. It's interesting. Um, but bottom line, it's a quick dopamine rush. It's a quick meet your needs. Where with a
Mhm.
partner, you got to put some work into it. It's not immediate gratification. I mean, and
Yes.
there's risk of being rejected or it not working out. So you're putting yourself out there a little bit more. So the two aren't
Yeah.
equal by any means.
Very true. Brad, go ahead.
Well, we were talking about habitual use, and to me, that sounds like someone who's like hitting it hours every day. Maybe that's not
True.
what you mean by habitual, but I don't think anybody in our demographic with kids has time for that.
True. That's probably true.
I mean, I'm
No,
sure
no one has
there's
time for that.
I'm sure there's guys out there who have a problem and they're gooning on a regular basis,
Now we know what that
We
means.
love
but
so much now.
I
This
just
is a
don't
learning show.
I don't think
Got
any of the people reaching out to a suburban sex podcast for couples has time for that.
I would
Yeah,
like to
I
dive
agree.
into the jealousy side of it a little bit more. I mean, is it just insecurity that's fueling this? I mean, the way Brad's uh, setup was is that he was insecure about the relationship, so that would make him much more concerned. I- I- would it be different in a secure relationship where you're totally committed and you're not worried about Addie leaving you if she's watching something? It sounds like it would be different now than
I
then.
I would support it and think it was super hot if she was watching porn.
Yeah. And because we're much more secure in our relationship. That's a really good point, Remy. I think the security that we feel, the balance that we have very good communication. We talk about sex, we talk about a lot of things. I do 95% of the talking, but that's fine. It still
99.
it still works. 99. Thanks, honey.
All right, so one more question to take this another level. Have you watched it together and did you find it helpful? Or was it something that drew up insecurities in one of you or caused a fight?
Yeah, definitely no insecurities. I'll just flatten that one out. When we watch it together, it's to enhance
Exactly.
something that we've already got going on. So, and it doesn't happen often. I mentioned that already. It doesn't happen very often. It's kind of like a vacation thing or a let's spice things up thing. It's not really my go-to, and I'm sure he would love it if it was my go-to, but
Well,
I we'll use it as a tool.
you should just be honest. It doesn't do anything for you.
Well, I know. I've said that.
It's not
It and
that
that's
it's
why it's
not
not
your
really my
go-to.
go-to.
It's that you you can just if it was on, you're just like not even watching it because you're so disinterested.
I'm not entirely disinterested. I mean, it, seeing sex, talking about sex, hearing about sex. This is why we have a sex podcast. I think even just having sex be part of a regular conversation and part of our world it makes me think about it more often, and it makes me want to have it more often. I think that is just math. Just putting it into my life more often makes me want it more. But you're right. The physical part of sex, the actual like seeing what they're putting out there, and we've probably not seen a whole variety, but we've tried different things, and it doesn't do too much to enhance, but I know it enhances things for you, Brad. So again, it's a tool that we use to spice things up, and I think that's okay.
It sounds like it has to do at least a lot with the tendency that most men are more visual, where for a
Yes,
girl, they may get off on reading a romance novel or a chick flick for that matter. And it may do the same thing for
mhm.
them that the visual does for the guy.
Right. And I can't wait to talk about our romance novels because we've got a good one brewing. So
Absolutely.
that'll be our next one of our next episodes
We've
coming.
been busy
Uh,
doing some homework getting ready for that one.
That's right. Yeah. So Remy, what about you? How do you see it as is it considered cheating, and do you see that philosophy, that mindset?
I don't see it as cheating. Of course, coming from my background, I think I've stated earlier in, in the podcast that I look for someone that looks like my partner.
Yes.
Trying to make it more innocent, but I don't see it necessarily as cheating. I don't want it to ever become something I'm dependent on or habitual use. It's just kind of something I've gone to in the past. Sometimes more often than others, but it goes in phases. It's certainly
Sure.
not something I want to have happen a lot. However, the very few times I know Reagan's not a huge fan of porn, and I think a lot of it has to do with the ethics of it and just the idea that it's someone's daughter. Where when you talk about female friendly porn, you talk about uh, porn that's more ethically made. The few times we've watched that has been more of an enhancement, even though it
Okay.
hasn't been very often. But at the same time,
Yeah.
we can watch something hot on TV and it'll have the same effect. I think we've talked about that, like Game of Thrones. There's certain scenes that just
Mhm.
do it for. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything with the sexual tension, sexual that visual helps overall. But yeah, I don't honestly think too hard, and maybe this is a bad thing to say publicly, but I don't think too hard about how the porn is made when I see something on the television. I just don't. I see it as exactly what it is, and I'm not wondering about what their parents think about them. I'm not judging them
Right.
for what's happening on the screen. I mean, they made a choice. I'm assuming they
Sure.
made a choice. So I'm really I don't know if like one production is going to be different for me than another.
I
But
think what I'm referring to is there is some that is clearly, it appears to be like an actual couple or more amateurs versus something that's degrading towards women, and there's just clearly no consent. That's just there's different levels, and anything that is not female pleasure focused can kind of lead you down a path
okay.
that is not positive.
Honey, I don't think I've ever seen porn that I don't feel like the female is like a willing participant. Maybe you have just
You mean like
shielded me
something
from
where
that.
she's like getting smacked around and
I haven't seen this type, but just I've typically the scenes that I've seen have always been more female focused in terms of the pleasure versus, as I understand it, there's deeper levels where it can be much more not female friendly. And I haven't
But
got
I
dived
guess
into that myself, but
I have
not
a
my
question
style.
though. Like, are we yeah, that's not our style either. So like are we talking to people who we're expecting to be watching the like dark web version of that? Or
no,
are we
no, we're
expecting
not.
yeah,
No,
I don't
I
feel like we
wouldn't
We're not
think
going
are.
so.
there.
No, absolutely not. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like,
Yeah.
you
Like what's the difference then of like a regular porn that you can get from anywhere
if you
versus
go get
like
a
an
freebie
OMG
porn off
yes.
of just some sort of I don't know, any of the major sites,
Yeah.
it's not necessary. It could be focused just on the man. It could be focused on lots of things. Where a lot of times the stuff that most wives would like is not necessarily going to be what you'd find on Pornhub or whatever the major sites are.
What he's saying is the ladies aren't going for the bukkake video. Does does Addie
Oh.
know what the
Oh
bukkake
god.
is?
Oh
Sorry, I
no!
don't remember. I know I've heard that term
Oh my!
before.
Oh,
Addie doesn't
Oh.
know. Here we
I don't think she's
go.
ready for
Oh.
that one, my friend.
Is that he squirts on her? He like puts something.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Okay. Is
No.
that
Should
your
I
final
stop
answer?
talking?
I don't think
I
she's
don't think
ready
I
for
should
that
guess
one, man.
anymore.
I mean,
I've heard
Reagan
of it. No, I've
has
heard of
heard the
it
term,
before.
and she's asked what it
Yeah.
means, and multiple times I've said, "You really don't want to know," and we've left it at that. So
Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Well, tell me and we can edit it out if we have to. It's fine.
It's
record the
where
face. Can you record this? It's gonna be
it's
good.
where multiple men stand around coming on a single woman,
Oh.
like one
Yeah.
after the other,
Yeah.
lining up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
disgusting. And
Yeah.
so that's a pretty raunchy, not female friendly
Time out.
scenario, I would say.
Time out.
What's timeout?
My reverse harem stuff. It's not like that's happening. However, that did just like creep into my brain as
Mm-hmm.
I finished the book last night. So,
Well,
Hmm.
let's talk about that later.
yeah.
Well, festive.
I'm just saying, it's not like entirely a male only thing. I think there's some
Oh,
power in women thinking
Sure.
they all want me.
yeah.
They,
But I'm
are
saying
worshiping me
I
kind of
think
thing.
also what Remy is referring to is scenes like where they're like gagging the woman with their penis and
Yes.
and choking
Yes.
them and
Okay.
slapping their tits and
Nothing
throwing
that
them
would happen in,
around.
a
Anything
committed long-term
rough.
relationship. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
loving.
Yeah.
It's not definitely
Right,
not
right.
loving.
Exactly. There's no care being taken. So that's not
He is
cool.
not worried
Although
about
I
her
don't know.
orgasm.
Slapping my tits, I don't know. That's something that we haven't really tried
Okay,
yet.
well, I'll give it a shot. Maybe that'll work.
He's like, challenge accepted.
There's not much to slap. It's fine. You'd miss them. Oh. Oh, look at you. One more thing I just wanted to say is like I kind of want to put a nail in the coffin of it's in the eye of the beholder kind of thing because like we have an opinion, but
Hmm.
it's completely up to that relationship and how they are discussing porn.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But you've got to
And
somehow, we have to phrase it in a way that, I mean, I think what you're saying is every relationship's going to be different, and you kind of have to play
they
off your
set their own
partner's
rules.
sensitivities. Yeah. And if your
Yeah.
partner's
Yeah.
overly sensitive, you kind of have to
Mhm.
respect it a little bit.
Yeah. Respect it a little bit.
But you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't
I
just say,
do.
well, it works for Eddie and Brad, so they don't think it's
Right.
cheating, so
Right.
I can do whatever I want. Where
I
your
know.
relationship's different, your past is
Right.
different, your shame's different, your whatever's
Mhm.
different.
And there's
Mhm.
probably couples out there who have religious objections to it, like see it as lusting after someone outside of the marriage. It's adultery in a way.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
I
Mhm.
could see that being
And
a problem.
That's true.
I I can as well. I can as well. But I think the overarching where what I would like to get out of this conversation of whether it's cheating or not, it has to boil back down to what you two have discussed as a couple. Brad and I have discussed it, and I don't think it's cheating. But if I did think it was cheating, that man would make sure to not do it because I think it's cheating. And
Sorry. What?
damn it.
Oh man.
Oh, Brad. No, but I mean we all have we've got to talk to our partner and if I think if there is a discrepancy there on how you see it, I personally think that most men have viewed porn and most men would like to continue to view porn. So if but it that may not be the case for you. But if that is the case for your relationship, and you see it as cheating, that has to be a conversation. And Remy, you made a great point earlier about sometimes that feels like it's cheating because it's an insecurity. So talk about it. Just be I think it's okay to be open about I don't like that they have such big boobs and I have like sad sorry boobs after 3 kids, and it makes me feel uncomfortable that you, like, see those beautiful tits all the time. I would tell you that, Brad, if that really bothered me, I would absolutely tell you that, and I think we would just have to come to some sort of agreement on what that means for us.
I bet
Yep.
Brad only looks up porn with women who had 3+ kids.
That's right.
Is that a
Or
Yes.
search
or
term?
flat
Mhm.
chested girls. Only flat
There you
chest.
go.
Oh my god, don't say that I'm flat.
No, I'm saying girls that aren't as big as you.
So
Uh-huh.
that way you're the standard that they're not measuring up to.
That does not even exist. That does not exist in your porn archives.
Do
No, it does
you
not.
like a porno?
Well done, sir. God, he's been waiting so
He
long
has.
to give us
Oh,
that one.
Brad.
But I do think it's in the eye of the beholder. So we have an opinion. We are not doctors. We are not. Do not send this to your wife and say they don't think it's porn. But I do think send this to your wife if you feel that there is a discrepancy because It should be a discussion. And if there is any sort of insecurity in their body, in the marriage, in past relationships, it could be anything,
That's a
but it
good
should be part
point.
of the conversation.
Past relationships, that seriously could have changed someone's opinion, you
Yes,
know?
So all you
absolutely.
Karens out there, just reach out to Addie at Gmail and let her know how you feel.
Talk suburban to me at gmail.com.
Oh, you're inviting the Karens to join the show.
Yeah, do it. Tell
Anybody
me.
but
Tell me.
Karens, we want to reach out
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
us.
Yeah. But I hope that this brings more of a conversational tone for each relationship because it's something that we've discussed and it's not something that we discuss often, to be honest. Like we're talking about porn here, but he probably watches porn and I never see it. Probably 99% of the time, if he watches it, I have no idea what he's looking at. I do not know his browser history. I just I want him to
I'm
have his time.
99% certain he has no browser history.
Stop it. Oh, cause he erases it?
Come on. Browser history,
Brad.
that's amateur stuff.
That's right.
Oh my gosh,
He's
see,
like,
I
I
don't
got
even
private
know.
tabs.
Oh my god. Y'all are teaching me so much. I
It's
love
not just
this.
for you. If I get hit by a bus and y'all have to go through my things,
Absolutely.
I can't have y'all finding that stuff.
Mm, true, true. This is why if I get hit by a bus, I need one of my girlfriends to come and I need to tell her all the secret stashes. That'd be if you and I get hit by a bus, Brad. If we got hit by the same bus at the same time, I would need someone to like come in and sweep through any of the dirty stuff. That's what you're
What?
supposed to have
Your
with
Let's
toys?
avoid the
besties.
buses. That doesn't sound fun.
I know. It's no fun.
What do you need to hide? Your sex
Oh,
toys?
no, no, no. I'm just saying, like that's what people do. That's what girls joke about.
Yeah.
Like, who's my best friend? Who's best enough of a friend who will come hide things before, like,
Yeah, but that's not you.
you
You're
know?
not the pervert who needs stuff hidden. That's a
Well,
guy
there's
thing.
things. Well, maybe that's
What are we
fine.
gonna hide your
Whatever.
romance novels? Your your
Ooh.
vibrator? Oh my god.
Hey, I'm fun. I'm fun and cool. All right.
So I would encourage all our listeners to have a very real conversation, and I would encourage both partners to create a safe space where both partners can feel comfortable sharing their point of view, because this is something that could be hotly charged. And
Mhm.
certainly, I don't want to cause fights in a relationship, but you need to accept your partner wherever they're at. And it could be on either side of this conversation. But I think being real is important, because you want to authentically love and accept your partner. And if you can't talk to them, maybe you need to create a safe space where you can and really understand where they're at and what their needs are. And if they have needs that you're not meeting, maybe this will create a way that you can meet their needs better. And if your partner is insecure about this topic, really try to understand why. And it will only help the relationship by knowing your partner.
I fully agree. It and it's really between the two of you as partners because we're going to have very different opinions than perhaps anyone else will. I think there's all sorts of ranges of how you could think about porn, and even porn as the title of this episode could be a trigger for some. So you just never know. Remy, great points. And I really do think that this will help spur some conversations. I think even between Brad and I, we probably have more to talk about on this front. And we have this is what helps us is hearing about more about sex and talking more about it and just kind of opening different aspects to the conversation up. So we hope you all enjoyed it with us and we enjoyed you joining us and we are wishing you all the very best of your own suburban sex.